Hi everybody! The aviation industry is one of the most drastically affected industries during the times of the pandemic. In the past 2 years itself, the Indian Airlines have incurred a loss of $8 billion. While on one side the number of travelers is still far from pre-COVID levels, the debts are piling up day by day and the aviation sector in total lost more than 39,000 jobs merely due to the pandemic. But amidst all of this distress, while most companies are struggling to even survive, Rakesh Jhunjunwala sir stands up and says that he'll be investing $35 million into starting an airline. And not just that, he also aims to expand the airlines to a fleet of 70 aircrafts within just 4 years. And this is astonishing because it took Go Air 15 years to achieve this milestone. And this begs the obvious question, what is the legend thinking? Why is he choosing this apparently terrible time to start such a risky business? And most importantly, from the investor or a business standpoint, what are the factors that we need to take into consideration in order to understand the aviation market of India? The first thing that we need to understand is that Mr. Jhunjunwala's airlines, which is named as Akasa, it will be a fleet of ultra low cost carriers. In simple words, it's going to be like the D-Mart of airlines, wherein the price of tickets is going to be even lower than the low cost carriers like Indigo and SpiceJet. And the most important thing for an ultra low cost carrier is nothing but cost. Now, considering the thin profit margins in the aviation industry combined with fluctuation in demand, they need to cut costs at every single step, starting from seats, parking fees and downtime, all the way up to the efficiency and the financing of the aircrafts. So the question is, what is so special about 2021 and why is the big bull starting now? Why isn't he waiting for the industry to come back to normal? The answer to this lies in the conditions of the various stakeholders in the aviation sector. And while most of us can only see the stiff competition between the airlines, we often do not sense the stiff competition between the airline makers. In this case, the airline makers are Boeing and Airbus. And as of 2021, Boeing is in deep trouble. Because this is what happened in 2018.
346 people are dead. We got a real problem here.
This brand new plane crashed twice in the span of about 5 months. How could this possibly happen?
Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but in 2018, 2 Boeing aircrafts crashed in a span of just 5 months, killing more than 300 people. And this is the reason why the Boeing 737 MAX had been banned from flying for 2 years. And because of this ban, the number of orders for Boeing 737 model fell from 837 units in 2018 to just 69 units in 2019. And this got the company from a profit of $10.4 billion to a loss of $636 million from 2018 to 2019. And all of this happened before COVID. Secondly, it has also delayed the delivery of the 77X to 2023, which is costing the company $6.5 billion in pre-tax charges. Thirdly, due to the pandemic, the other deliveries were also delayed by airlines all across the world, resulting in a loss of nearly $12 billion in 2020 alone. This is the deep trouble that Boeing is in right now, wherein they are burning billions of dollars worth of cash every single month. And during such a time, any kind of fleet order would be a blessing for the company. And this also means that the buyer will get an exceptional bargaining power to get the aircrafts at an extremely low price. And this gives Akasa a huge advantage in purchasing the aircrafts at a discounted rate. Now, just to give you an idea about how big a deal this is, we are talking about a discount that is reported to go as high as 50% for an aircraft that costs close to $100 million per unit. Which means what? If Mr. Jhunjunwala plays his cards well, he could be saving $1 billion while purchasing the aircrafts itself. And not so surprisingly, apart from Akasa, many low-cost carriers from all across the world have started placing orders with Boeing specifically during this time of crisis. And this includes the US carrier Southwest Airlines that has placed an order of 34 aircrafts. While on the other side, Ryanair has already placed a massive order of 75 aircrafts in December 2020 itself. This is one of the most important reasons why Mr. Jhunjunwala is planning to start an airline right now. Now the question is, with the aviation industry already having big guns like Indigo and Go First, how is Akasa going to cement its position in the aviation war? And this is what brings me to the second point, and that is the situation of the big guns right now. Indigo's combined losses for 6 quarters is about 10,000 crores. Go Air is now considering an IPO to revive itself from the losses, and SpiceJet has seen its losses widening in spite of getting $150 million in compensation from Boeing because of its ban. So on the outset, it looks as if when these companies start operating at 100% capacity, they'll be very keen on recovering their losses as quickly as possible. Therefore, discounting on tickets will be very, very difficult, eventually resulting into high prices. However, there is a very, very important factor that needs to be taken into consideration, and that is Indigo Airlines. Now people, I don't know how many of you know this, but Indigo Airlines is by far one of the most extraordinary airlines in the Indian aviation market. And because of its game-changing business strategies, it has always had an advantage over its competition. In this context, Indigo Airlines has 3 major advantages over the rest of the competition. Number 1, Indigo Airlines is by far the biggest client of Airbus in India, and if you look at their fleet orders, it's quite massive. They ordered 180 aircrafts in 2011, 250 aircrafts in 2015, and a historic order of 300 aircrafts in 2019. And if you look at it, it is more than the entire fleet of its next 2 competitors combined. And this means that just like Ryanair and Southwest Airlines have a bargaining power with Boeing, Indigo, being one of the biggest Airbus buyers, has a huge bargaining advantage over the rest of its competition. Therefore, just like Southwest and Akasa plan to save billions with Boeing, even Indigo will save billions of dollars with its huge purchase order. And secondly, because Indigo gets such big fleets at such heavy discounts, it deploys its game-changing business strategy called the sales and leaseback model. This is a technique wherein an entity sells its asset to another party and rents it back from the same buyer. For example, now pay very close attention to this. Because Indigo places such a large fleet order, it can buy a $100 million aircraft at a modest price of $50 million. And then it sells this aircraft to a leasing company like BOC Aviation for $55 million. Now here itself, they make a profit of $5 million. And then Indigo rents the same aircraft from BOC Aviation for a period of 5 to 8 years, such that Indigo will pay the rent with its incoming revenue from operation. Now this is a great deal for the leaser also, because even at $55 million, it's a bargain for them, because they get to buy an aircraft at a heavy discount rate without having to place a bulk order. And along with that, they're also getting a ready-made customer base that will give them a recurring revenue. And this, ladies and gentlemen, gives Indigo 3 incredible benefits. First of all, the company generates an upfront profit of $5 million per unit, which could be used somewhere else, plus the leasing model eases their cash flow. Secondly, under the sales and leaseback model, as the aircraft is owned by the leaser, Indigo saves on the depreciation provision, which increases their profit and saves a ton of tax. And cherry on the cake, in the leaseback agreement, it is the responsibility of the leaser to bear the maintenance repairs. Therefore, Indigo further saves millions of dollars in maintenance repairs that reduces the cost of the ticket. This is the second advantage that Indigo has over the rest of its competition. And thirdly, Indigo is also looking to expand into cargo fleet, which will give them more cash flow that is independent of the passenger traffic. And this is a strength that even SpiceJet possesses in the Indian market. But you know what, guys? There's a small catch over here. As it turns out, one of the most important people from the Indigo's team who is responsible for such game-changing strategies, that is former president of Indigo, Mr. Aditya Ghosh, is now all set to join Mr. Jhunjunwala's venture. Which means what? With such brilliant minds in the game, we will definitely be witnessing some game-changing cost-cutting strategies, both from Indigo and Akasa. And as students and practitioners of business, it is going to be a delight to see what kind of strategies Akasa deploys in order to tackle the big guns even with all of its limitations. This is the second factor that will decide the success or the failure of Akasa Airlines. And then there are some important pointers that state the conducive nature of the market for starting an airline in 2021. For example, the Bangalore airport is now having a second runway, and while Delhi and Mumbai appear to be packed, Bangalore has the trio of slots, night parking and counters available, which is very rare. Secondly, in the next 5 years, India will begin to see something called secondary airports, which act as one of the most important cost-cutting elements for a low-cost carrier. I'll give you an in-depth perspective using a case study next month, but for now, just take note of this, okay? And thirdly, under the UDAN scheme, the government aims to build another 100 airports and subsidize travel for citizens, which will eventually benefit both the airlines and the customers. And this brings me to the most important part of the video, and that is, considering all these interesting strategies and the trajectory of the aviation sector, and considering the fact that we are now seeing IPO come in the aviation sector, what should you read up on in order to become an intelligent investor in the aviation space? Number 1, please study the concepts and strategies of Ryanair and Southwest Airlines, and these are two of the best low-cost carriers in the world. And this will help you understand the intricate cost-cutting strategies that they deploy in order to generate profit even during the times of crisis. Secondly, if you find time, please read this book called Nuts, and this will give you an in-depth understanding of business strategies of Southwest Airlines. And lastly, drop a comment about what you think about why AirAsia failed in India. And if you don't know about it, I think you'll learn something incredible when you read about it. Meanwhile, people, we plan to cover a lot more about the aviation sector in the upcoming case studies, and I plan to share lots of study materials with you. So if you want to learn about some of the best business strategies in the world, please keep pace with me and read everything that I'm asking you to read. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.